So what I'm going to do is ask you a question, and I want you to think about how many times you've heard it before. Why are you always on that damn phone? If you're a member of Generation Z like I am, then you've probably heard this more times than you can count. I'm going to try to give you the answer, specifically why we use social media on our phones and how it might not be the worst thing after all. Now I know what you're thinking. Why should we listen to a 19-year-old film student with no educational credentials but a high school diploma? Well, it's because I'm the first generation that was raised around these platforms. I'm part of the young demographic who has grown up around these social media sites and adapted in ways older generations have not. To be honest, I'm tired of listening to theories about how society is being made much worse because everyone is so buried in their phones from people like this. Now, I don't want anyone to think that I'm being prejudiced towards older people, because I'm not. The people I take issue with are the older people, or really anyone, that insists the way they live their lives is the way everyone should. And the unfortunate truth is that the world older generations grew up in is gone now. We don't have the privilege of growing up without media influence, given that having a good social image is essential these days for important things like college and certain jobs. And while social media is not without its flaws, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why the benefits might just outweigh them. And those 3 things are: it gives power to the individual, it's healthy for us emotionally, and it exposes us to people we might have never interacted with before. These platforms give power to the individual by offering the opportunity to reach a large amount of people. The issue people take with this lies in how the platforms make money. Jaron Lanier is an example of someone who advocates for this. He calls these platforms bummers, or behaviors of users modified and made into an empire for rent, and says capitalism works in conjunction with them to make us mindless drone-like consumers at the mercy of their algorithms. I don't know about everyone else, but the number in my bank account has much more control over my consumer activity than the algorithms in Instagram's shop section. Even worse than that, though, Jaron Lanier doesn't have social media. So how can someone who's not even a part of something claim it's ruining us? When we look at the power that social media offers, it helps individuals just as much as businesses. Jan Rezab does a better job of going into depth with this topic in his TED Talk, which I'll have linked in the description, and I recommend everyone watch. But he gives examples like the Tunisian Revolution, where they overthrew the oppressive government thanks to being able to spread the word on Facebook, as well as tweets to sign petitions going viral and getting 100,000 signatures on a petition makes them eligible for congressional review, giving small citizens like us the chance to propose actual laws. Another example he gives relates to the very businesses that market themselves on social media. Leaving a negative review isn't limited to these businesses' sites anymore. It can go viral if it's bad enough. This prompts businesses to change much faster to prevent themselves from being canceled. This social condemnation can be devastating and creates lofty standards that didn't exist before for how these businesses treat their customers as well as their employees, and in every instance, it often stems from a single person. The second reason is our emotional health. These days, many of us are stuck at home, and the inability to do what we're used to doing or see the people we're used to seeing all the time can drive us insane, myself included. Our phones and social media platforms like Snapchat offer ways to interact and communicate with one another, which is essential for many people's mental health. It is also an effective way to vent frustrations, and the anonymity and 24/7 availability social media offers makes the platforms a readily available form of therapeutic relief. This last reason I didn't have to do research for, and stems from the age-old saying that laughter is the best medicine. On just about every social media platform, you can find something that can make everyone laugh. For me, Twitter is what I find comfort in, and after a long day, never fails to pick me up. The last reason I have listed is that it exposes us to people we might otherwise have never interacted with, and is why I'm so grateful for social media like Twitter. Typically, when we're growing up, we only hear perspectives from our family members or friends from school, but oftentimes these are people similar to us. They come from the same financial situation, similar heritage, and even the same race. This can sometimes be good for making friends because we find more things in common with people like this, but it's not conducive in any way to developing well-rounded perspectives on things like social and political issues. On Twitter, though, you can observe trending topics and issues going on worldwide. You can hear firsthand what all diverse types of people experience. This large pool of perspectives helps those who pull from it develop into well-rounded individuals, rather than forming your opinion based on only the people you grew up around. All of that being said, it would be ignorant of me to suggest that social media doesn't have serious flaws. And trust me when I say that having been on social media for 8 years now, I'm no stranger to any of them. The anonymity that is useful for some is the reason cyberbullying is such a big problem, since face-to-face confrontation isn't necessary. The constant availability also makes the internet addictive, and one of the biggest issues is the way it allows us to compare ourselves to others. I believe it was Mark Twain who said comparison is the death of joy. We start wondering why our lives aren't as exciting as the next person's and comparing our weaknesses to other people's strengths. Social media is healthy in moderation, but just like many things, too much of it is no longer a good thing. It's important to limit it if possible. In quarantine, though, we all are more active on it than usual. So to stay safe online, here are a few tips. Think before you post because it will never go away. Don't release anything too personal, and don't post about someone else what you wouldn't want them to post about you. Again, these are things people my age have heard a million times before, but they're sometimes forgotten or just ignored. But when followed, can prevent most of the problems encountered. And for cyberbullying, you can help yourself by reporting it and blocking anyone who is harassing you. Platforms like Twitter also have a mute function where you can mute certain words, ensuring that no tweet containing those words will even show up in your feed. I've been using these things ever since I learned them to help stay safe online, and I'm glad I did, because I believe being on social media has helped me become a more well-rounded individual. I don't want anyone to think that I'm insisting social media and the way I live is for everyone, because then I'm no better than the people I take issue with. For those who choose not to use it, that's their prerogative, and only they can decide what works for them, even Jaron Lanier. But for those of us who do use it, despite what others might think, it isn't the worst thing in the world. So the next time someone asks you, why are you always on that damn phone? Remember the 3 things. It gives power to the individual, it is healthy for us emotionally, and it exposes us to people we might never have interacted with before. I hope I've helped you become a more well-rounded individual today. And if you're an active member of social media, remember to stay safe, be mindful of everyone else, and don't forget to limit your time on there, because it's just as important to live in the real world too.